July 15th, 1940, 15:27 hours. 18,000 feet above the English Channel off the coast of Dover. The sky is a battlefield of screaming engines and tracer fire. Squadron leader Douglas Butter grips the control stick of his Spitfire, sweat soaking his flight suit despite the biting cold. At altitude below the channel churns like a gray beast, dotted with the distant silhouettes of Heinkel bombers lumbering toward England's shores. But it's the Messerschmitt Bf 109 streaking ahead that commands his focus. A sleek predator, its yellow nose glinting in the sun as it twists into a desperate evasion. Batter's thumb hovers over the firing button, his 8 Browning machine guns hungry for the kill. "Tally-ho!" he barks into the radio voice crackling through the static. The 109 pilot, sensing the trap, rolls inverted and shoves his stick forward, plunging into a steep -G dive. Gravity reverses in an instant. The world inverts, blood rushing to Batter's head, his vision tunneling as the G-forces pull at his body like invisible chains. He matches the maneuver, nosing his Spitfire down in pursuit. The Merlin engine roars a symphony of 130 horsepower, propelling him earthward at over 400 miles per hour. The altimeter spins wildly. You can almost feel it, the rush of wind howling through the cockpit seals, the metallic tang of oil and exhaust in the air, the vibration of the airframe shaking your bones. For a split second, it's pure exhilaration. The thrill of the hunt, then disaster. The engine coughs, sputters, dies. Silence engulfs the cockpit, broken only by the whistle of air over the wings. The propeller windmills uselessly, the Spitfire transforming from a falcon into a falling stone. Batter's stomach lurches as the aircraft stalls mid-dive, hanging in that terrifying limbo where control slips away. "Engine cut, bloody hell," he shouts, yanking the stick, pumping the throttle in vain. The 109 vanishes into the clouds below, unscathed, while Batter fights to restart the Merlin, flames of frustration and fear licking at his resolve. He manages it just barely. A kick of the rudder, a flip back to positive G, and the engine catches with a growl. But the enemy is gone, another kill denied. Another brush with death back at RAF Tangmere that evening. Batter storms into the mess, his prosthetic legs lost in a pre-war crash, clanking against the floorboards. "It's suicide up there!" he thunders to his pilots. "Face flush, those Jerry 109s dive like demons, and our Merlins quit the moment we follow." We're sitting ducks, he's not alone. Across fighter command pilots whisper the same nightmare. The Rolls-Royce Merlin, that engineering marvel, powering the Spitfire and Hurricane, starves itself of fuel in -G, the carburetor designed for steady level flight. Floods when gravity inverts, drowning the engine in raw petrol. No spark, no power. Just a helpless glide toward the ground or sea in the heat of dogfights, where split-second decisions mean life or death. This flaw turns heroes into victims. Picture it, a young pilot officer fresh from training, eyes wide with adrenaline. He spots a Dornier formation, peels off to intercept the bomber's jink. Their gunners spitting lead. He pushes into a bunt, a sharp -G. Push over and poof, engine out. The formation escapes while he floats exposed, praying for restart before 109 pounces. How many never make it back? The Air Ministry logs them as combat losses, but the squadrons know better. It's the machine betraying the man. At the Royal Aircraft Establishment in Farnborough, engineers pore over blueprints, scratching heads over dynamometer tests. "It's the float chamber," one mutters, pointing to schematics of the Sioux carburetor. Under -G, fuel slashes up, overwhelms the needle valve. "Unavoidable," the senior brass nods sagely. "Redesign the entire system in wartime, impossible. We've got production lines churning out Merlins by the hundreds. Can't halt for a fix that might not work. But the pilots, they're dying. Group captain, send urgent memos to the Air Ministry. Resolve this or lose the air war." Replies come back curt. "Under review, focus on tactics. Avoid -G pursuits. Avoid them in the Battle of Britain. With Luftwaffe swarms darkening the skies, evasion isn't an option, fight or fall." Enter Beatrice Shilling, not a pilot, not a brass hat, but a 31-year-old. Wait, the records say 31 in 1940, though her spirit burned. Younger aeronautical engineer at the Ray Tilly. They called her, short for Beatrice, a motorcycle racer in her spare time, tearing up Brooklands on her Norden helmet askew, defying the male-dominated tracks. Now in the sterile labs of Farnborough, she stares at the Merlin mock-up carburetor, disassembled like a puzzle. Her colleagues dismiss the issue. Fundamental design flaw, they say. Needs a fuel injection system, like the Germans have on their Daimler-Benz engines. But that's years away, Shilling. With her sharp eyes and sharper mind, disagrees. She sketches late into the night. Fueled by tea and tenacity, what if a simple restrictor, a washer with a precise hole, could limit fuel flow during inversion, preventing the flood? Her supervisor scoffs. A brass disc crude violates every principle of carburetor dynamics. The ministry won't approve. Senior engineers pile on, not a priority. We've got radar chains to build, bomb sights to calibrate, but Shilling sees the faces behind the memos, the betas, the nameless pilots stalling over the channel. She builds a prototype anyway, tests it in the wind tunnel, watches the fuel stabilize under simulated -G. Word spreads quietly. A few squadrons hear rumors of a fix from Farnborough. But will it work in the real sky as the Battle of Britain intensifies, with daily scrambles and mounting losses? Shilling knows she can't wait for permission. She's about to take matters into her own hands and change the course of the air war forever. Farnborough, Hampshire. Late autumn 1940, the ray hanger smells of oil, warm metal, and the faint chemical bite of aviation fuel.
Fluorescent lights buzz overhead,
casting harsh shadows across the half-disassembled Merlin engine mounted on its test stand. Beatrice Shilling stands alone at the workbench, sleeves rolled to her elbows, a cigarette dangling unlit from her lips. Regulations be damned after midnight. In her left hand, a small brass washer, no thicker than a shilling coin, drilled with a meticulously measured 0.090-inch orifice. In her right, a micrometer still warm from repeated checks. She's named it nothing yet. The men call these things orifices in the technical drawings. So the pilots will later christen it Miss Shilling's Orifice, with the grim humor of men who flirt with death daily. She slides the washer between the carburetor float chamber and the main jet. The modification is brutal in its simplicity. It chokes fuel flow just enough during -G to prevent the chamber from flooding, while still allowing full power under positive loads. No new pumps, no redesigned floats. No months of retooling factories. Just one tiny brass restrictor. She tightens the last bolt with a soft click, wipes her hands on a rag already black with grease, and steps back. The engine looks unchanged. Exactly what the Air Ministry wants when they insist no visible alterations. But beneath the cowling, something revolutionary now lives. Next morning, she drives her battered ME to RAF Duxford, requisition papers tucked under her arm like a guilty secret. The station commander, Wing Commander A.B. Woodhall meets her on the tarmac. He's heard the rumors, Miss Shilling, he says, eyeing the small wooden crate she carries. The brass say this is unofficial. It is unofficial, she replies evenly. But your pilots are dying because of something official that doesn't work. Let me fit one Spitfire one flight test. If it fails, you can court-martial me later. Woodhall studies her short, wiry dark hair pinned back, eyes steady behind round spectacles. He's lost 6 pilots this month to the same engine cutout. He nods once, hangar 3 quietly. Two fitters help her. They work fast. No chatter, the Spitfire MKI. Serial N3280, still bearing the paint scars of a recent scrap over Calais, sits with panels off Merlin exposed like an open heart. Shilling climbs the scaffolding herself, reaches into the carburetor intake and installs the washer in under 5 minutes. The fitters watch in silence as she torques the final nut by feel. No torque wrench needed after so many practice runs on the bench. She climbs down, face smudged with oil. Tell the pilot to try a full bun at 15,000 feet. -G, hold it as long as he dares. If the engine keeps running, radio orifice clear. If not, well, he knows what to do. The test pilot is Flight Lieutenant James Patterson, 603 Squadron, a lean Scot with 4 confirmed kills and a fresh scar across his left cheek from a 109's cannon. He straps in without ceremony. Canopy slides shut. Merlin coughs into life. Shilling stands at the edge of the perimeter track, arms folded, watching the Spitfire taxi. Then roar down the runway and climb into the pale November sky. Minutes stretch 10. 15. Then the radio crackles across the ops room. Loudspeaker Tangmere. This is Red 2, executed -G bunk from 16,000. Held inversion for 12 seconds. Engine steady, throughout fuel pressure normal. Orifice bloody clear, repeat. Orifice clear, a ripple of disbelief runs through the controllers.
Patterson's voice again,
quieter
now.
Almost reverent she works.
Tell whoever built it,
thank you.
Thank you.
Shilling exhales for what feels like the first time in weeks. Back in the hangar, she begins preparing more washers. Enough for a full squadron trial. But word travels faster than paperwork in wartime. By evening, pilots from neighboring squadrons are drifting over, asking quiet questions. Heard you've got a fix for the cutout. Can we borrow one? The Air Ministry still hasn't approved anything. Senior Ray engineers still call it a bodge. Yet on the squadrons, the first handful of modified Spitfires begin to fly. Aggressive chase maneuvers no one dared attempt. Before A109 dives, British pilots follow. No stall, no silence. Just the steady thunder of the Merlin carrying them down onto the enemy's tail.
The change is subtle at first, then
measurable, then undeniable. One washer, one woman in the beginning of something the Luftwaffe never saw coming. Winter 1940 into spring 1941. The Battle of Britain has bled into the Blitz, but the daylight fighter sweeps over southern England remain merciless. Now something is different. At first it's whispers in dispersal huts, pilots comparing notes over lukewarm tea and players' cigarettes. Did you hear about Duxford's new trick engine? Didn't quit on the dive, followed the 109 straight down to the deck. Bloody miracle, then sightings. Spitfires no longer hesitating at the edge of a bunt, no longer floating helplessly while yellow-nosed bandits vanished into the haze. Instead, they poured after them, Merlin howling unbroken, guns flashing, tracer stitching the sky. One morning over Beachy Head, Flight Lieutenant Brian Kingcome of 92 Squadron spots a pair of 109s harrying a straggling Hurricane. The Germans see him coming in split, both shoving into vicious negative G dives toward the white cliffs. In the old days, King Kong would have broken off, cursing the carburetor gods. Today he doesn't hesitate. He rolls inverted, sticks the nose down hard. The G-forces slam him into the seat straps. The world inverts, blood pools in his boots. The Merlin never falters, fuel flows steady. Power surges, the altimeter unwinds at terrifying speed. 15,000, 12,000, 8,000. The lead 109 fills his gun sight, growing larger by the heartbeat. Kingcome thumbs the button, 8 Brownings roar. The Me-262 disintegrates in a bright flash of wing and fuselage. Parting company, the second 109 pulls up desperately. Too late. Kingcome's second burst catches it in the engine nacelle. Black smoke trails, it rolls onto its back and spins into the sea. Back at Biggin Hill that afternoon, Kingcome strides into the ops room, still wearing his Mae West, face flushed with adrenaline and something fierce as certainty. Whoever sorted that carburetor, he tells the intelligence officer, just gave us the 109s, one advantage back. Tell them we owe them a crate of champagne. Word races through 11 group like wildfire. Squadron leaders begin quietly requesting the Farnborough mod for their aircraft. Fitters work through the night, installing the brass washers under torchlight while sentries stand guard to keep curious eyes away. No official order has come down from the Air Ministry. No directive, just pilots voting with their throttle hands. By March 1941, the modification is spreading squadron by squadron, airfield by airfield. Spitfire MKIs and early MKVs roll off the line at Castle Bromwich and Supermarine with the Orifice already fitted, sometimes with a discreet chalk mark on the cowling. MSO Miss Shilling's Orifice. The nickname sticks, ground crews joke about it. Pilots wear it like a talisman. One Hurricane pilot, transferred to a Spitfire unit, is overheard muttering, "Bloody hell, they've given the Spits teeth again." The tactical shift is immediate and brutal. RAF fighter sweeps once cautious. Defensive turn, predatory wear. A diving 109 used to guarantee escape. Now it guarantees a chase? British pilots press home, attacks they would have abandoned months earlier. Luftwaffe pilots, accustomed to relying on their superior dive performance, suddenly find the hunter becoming the hunted. Radio chatter from German pilots begins to reflect the change. Confusion, then alarm. Der Engländer folgt immer noch. The Englishman is following. He's still following. The statistics creep upward. Confirmed kills rise. RAF losses in fighter versus fighter combat begin to tilt. It isn't the only reason the Merlin was already powerful. The Spitfire agile radar and the doubting system superb, but it is a decisive piece. One small choke in the fuel line has removed the single, most exploitable weakness in the most iconic Allied fighter of the war. Beatrice Shilling still working in Farnborough's carburetor section. Here's the report secondhand.
She doesn't celebrate,
she simply begins scaling production. Hand-making washers at first, then supervising small batches turned out by a local precision engineering firm. She never asks for credit. She never demands recognition. She just keeps the boxes moving toward the airfields. Yet the tide has turned in a way no one at the Air Ministry predicted. A crude fix rejected as unorthodox has rewritten the rules of engagement at 20,000 feet, and the Luftwaffe is only just beginning to feel the difference.